there. This is Dr. Ball coming to you with Healthbits and my podcast, Health Matters. I spoke on Tuesday about fasting. Life in the fast lane is the subject, and I introduced fasting. So the first thing I talked about was fasting and a little bit of the history. But this is what I want you to imagine. Imagine a single practice that could help you live longer, have less illnesses and sicknesses, think clearer, be more energized, feel more youthful every single day. And what if I told you that this could be your truth? This could be your reality by simply doing one thing, and that one thing is not eating. Yeah, just not eating or fasting. So let me give you a little bit about fasting. When we hear fasting, it's normally two types of fasting that people talk about. They talk about intermittent fasting, and that's when you go 12 hours or 16 hours or 18 hours or even 20 hours without eating or in between meals. We see that a lot with people who exercise and work out and do things of that nature. Then there is prolonged fasting. And prolonged fasting is when there is fasting for greater than 48 hours or fasting that's beyond 2 days. And the reason why that's called prolonged fasting is because it takes normally 2 days to deplete your glycogen stores, or basically, for lack of a better term, your glucose or your sugar, your primary fuel for your body, and your body starts tapping into fat reserves for its fuel source. So those are the two primary types of fasting. And I talked about this not being anything new because as far back as 5 BC, you have Hippocrates and other people in the medical field that advocated fasting for wellness, to helping you get better and feel better and heal more quickly from disease by fasting. We now have contemporized it again, and we try to implement it in our workouts and things of that nature so that we can live a more healthy, be more healthy life. And that's fasting. So I talked about intermittent, I talked about prolonged fasting, but I want to clarify something here. Fasting is not starvation. Fasting is not starvation. We often mention the word fasting. We often mention starvation. A person hadn't eaten in a few hours and they say, I'm starving. Starvation, when we talk about that, it is when you have gone so long without eating that your body has depleted all of its fat stores. And after all of the fat stores are depleted, you have nothing else for fuel sources but muscle or protein. And so once the body starts tapping into the protein, now you see a person with muscle wasting. You see it in their face. You see it on the temporals. Hair thinning, because believe it or not, hair is protein, or at least majority of it, 80 to 9% of it is keratin, and keratin is protein. So your body is tapping into every source it can without literally killing itself in order to survive. So it's going to not want to eat into heart muscle, obviously, but it's going to try to find a source of protein everywhere because all fat has been depleted. That is starvation. Many of us, especially with it being known throughout that obesity is an epidemic, many of us have extra weight on us and we go too long without eating. What's the first thing we say? I am starving. I haven't eaten all day. When really our body has some fuel reserves for us in those times when we not eating or can't eat. Now, I titled tonight's lesson, Benefits of Fasting, the Body's Natural Detox. There's something that nothing short of miraculous that happens when we fast. There's something that turns on in our bodies when we fast. It's called autophagy. Autophagy, auto, Greek for self, phagy, Greek for eating. So self-eating. And what that basically means is at the cellular level, our body starts house cleaning, starts recycling old products, starts clearing out toxic waste at the cellular level, precancerous toxic waste, starts taking down old protein, old cell debris, and recycles it and makes new cellular material that's more useful. In other words, it helps the body become more efficient. This is something that's built in with all of us, but for whatever reason, autophagy begins to decrease as we age. And there's no wonder that that's when chronic diseases and other things and cancers in some cases begin to raise its ugly head. It's a built-in survival mechanism of our body to eat up old debris to keep the house clean. And when autophagy begins to decrease, then we get an excess buildup of toxic waste in our bodies that needs autophagy to clear up, but the process of autophagy has decreased due to age. Fasting reignites autophagy. And so with that, at the cellular level, old debris is ate up, old collagen is stripped down, and new collagen is able to rebuild. Look at some of the studies. They are now saying fasting is one of the best ways to tighten loose muscle after weight loss. Why? Because you strip away the old and you lay down new cells at the microscopic level. Yeah, all of those things are done. Something else, not only is autophagy something that happens with fasting, but also a reduction in inflammation. Many studies show that the core of most chronic diseases is chronic inflammation, and the end product is some sort of disease process. So fasting, the autophagy, leads to decreased inflammation, means to a decrease or reduction in our risk of various chronic diseases. Something else. It's a hormone that our body secretes that if somebody tried to inject it into them and they're an athlete, they would be banned from the sport, and that's human growth hormone. Well, our body secretes it naturally. But as we get older, the amount of secretion decreases. Some of the things HCG does is it breaks down fat. Yes, it's lipolytic. It cuts away fat. That's why a lot of times it's more easier to stay lean when we're younger and more difficult when we get older. Human growth hormone helps us to stay lean. It preserves lean muscle while at the same time cutting away fat, and at the same time helps us to look more youthful with regard to our skin. Fasting increases our human growth hormone. This hidden jewel that is there for us if we would only implement it. I got a question for you, and I mentioned it on episode 1, talking about longevity, talking about what we can do to live a longer life, and why start with fasting? Because fasting is the gut check. It's the gut check that before I get back to the gut check, for those of you all who don't know, at any time during my teaching, there will be music playing just briefly. And if you're able to name the title of the song, and if you're able to sing a verse of that song while we're still on the podcast, I will give you a financial gift for your participation, as well as you naming the title of that song and singing the song. So that was it. That was that little bit of that song. I'll continue on finishing up my last 2 or 3 minutes of this teaching, and we'll see if anybody chimes in to say, I know the name of that song. At that time, I invite you in on the podcast. I get your information so that I can cash app you if you nail it. Nail the song, sing the song. So back to the gut check. So why do I start with fasting? Because it doesn't require gym membership. It doesn't require going to purchase some dumbbells. It doesn't require you getting in your car driving anywhere. It doesn't require you having a weight bench or some mats or some bands or anything. I started with fasting as far as the road to longevity is because it costs you nothing. And so your return on investment is great. It doesn't cost you anything, but you can gain a lot. The things I just spoke about, you can gain a lot. The only thing it takes is commitment. That's why I call fasting the real gut check. Because if you're really serious about longevity, if you're really serious about health and wellness, if you're really serious about becoming a better you, so that you can live a longer quality of life, well, if you can commit yourself to fasting, then what can stop you? When you commit yourself to a certain diet, when you commit yourself to a certain workout plan, when you commit yourself to a certain goal. So it starts there, because if I can deny self, long enough for 48 hours, even when I'm craving this and craving that, then you've not only conquered a potential setback in your life called procrastination or called impulsivity, you've also primed yourself to be able to take the next level because you know you now have the discipline and commitment. All right, so I waited a little bit since playing that little bit of that song, but I'm gonna do you a solid. I'm gonna do it one more time before I call it wraps. Going once. Going twice. Going once, going twice, 3 times. No singers tonight. No singers tonight. That's basically what happened. So next time, we're going to continue this conversation on fasting. We're going to continue the conversation on its benefits. We're going to continue how fasting is something that costs you nothing, but you can gain a lot from it. So I'll close with this. You've been listening to Healthbits with yours truly, Dr. Ball, where you come to listen and you stay to be heard. God bless you until next time.